Missourians are letting lawmakers know what they think of a new proposal to overturn Amendment 3. That voter-approved measure legalized abortion, but a new bill would make Missourians vote on it again.
WGEM Missouri Capitol Bureau reporter Hannah Falcon spoke with crowds of people who came to the Capitol in Jefferson City today.
It was standing room only in the Missouri Capitol today as about 100 people gathered for a public hearing on a bill to overturn Amendment 3.
What Amendment 3 took away from them, this legislation seeks to restore.
Morganton Republican Representative Brian Seitz is carrying a bill that would ban abortion, except in cases of rape, incest, or a medical emergency. 52% of voters voted yes to Amendment 3 in November, but this bill would overturn that measure.
Missourians did not vote for abortion on demand at 9 months or past the age of fetal viability.
Seitz argues Amendment 3 removed guardrails when a Jackson County judge sided with Planned Parenthood in court to remove many regulations.
I'm asking you to stop this bill and let me care for my patients.
St. Louis physician Christine Jackson performs abortions. She was one of dozens of Missourians who came to urge lawmakers not to pass this bill.
We know that pregnancy is not a benign state, and so there are a lot of complications that can happen.
Republicans and those against Amendment 3 say abortion is extremely dangerous to the woman. The National Institute of Health reported a 2% abortion complication rate in 2023. An average complication rate for surgeries is 7% to 17%.
Abortions are an incredibly safe procedure. The complication rate is less than that of a tonsillectomy, less than that of a wisdom tooth removal.
If this bill passes, it would still need approval from voters, so you could see it on your ballot in 2026. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, WGEM News.